Strode, and welcome to Straightforward. Today we have a very, very special guest. Twilla, welcome.
Hi.
I got it right. We are Southerners. We love to mess up people's names. For a long time, I just didn't know that was the correct pronunciation.
I've been Twilla, I've been Twirler, I've been Twirler. My first Bible has Twilight on it.
Does it? Okay. All right. Well,
Miss Corrine just could not. She had it inscripted on the Bible. I couldn't believe it.
Really?
My mom.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a Southern thing. We can do it. Pecan, tomato, we do that. But you are a woman with a purpose. I've watched you. I've watched you engage other young women. You have a passion for assisting those that have been taken advantage of, that often the world ignores. I'm trying to use the correct words because I don't want to be accusatory.
Right.
And a lot of times people are so focused on those in their immediate circle, or we tend to look the other way because it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
So we intentionally don't see what we see. And what I like about you and your spirit is so free that you just call it like it is.
Yes, ma'am.
To thine own self be true. No, really, and you move, at your own cadence, by your own drummer, to your own beat. And sometimes we need the rebels, and I mean that in a good way, that's willing to step outside of what's comfortable, yes, to help and teach other women how to move and grow beyond some of the things that might have happened to them.
Right.
So you've written a book about your story.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, your book is He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not. Yep. We remember that from poetry, from in school and that kind of thing. So it really sounds romantic, but the story is not one about romance.
It is not.
Okay. So share with our audience how this book came to be.
First of all, thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
and
definitely. Our pleasure.
Such a great woman to sit here with, and you've done so much in the community. I really feel honored to be here.
Thank you.
When you called me, I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to get to sit down. Yeah. And I thank you so much for all the compliments and the accolade, but I really do have to give God all the glory, because not for him, I could be anybody's prostitute, I could be anybody's drug addict, I could be dead.
Really?
Or I could be sold somewhere.
In sex trafficking.
In sex trafficking, yeah, I could be in another country. So many things I could be, but God. When I say but God, I really mean but God.
So the life-changing event, how old were you? When did this happen? And who was the perpetrator?
Well, for the first one, I was groomed from probably age 6, 7.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because let's first call it what it is. I am an incest survivor.
Really?
I'm an incest survivor.
That's very powerful. And those are things in the African American community, even our churches taught people to shh. Whatever goes on in your house stays in your house. And that's why we have people that are no longer living.
Right.
They are substance abusers.
Yes, ma'am.
They are out doing all
things
kinds
I called off.
Exactly. Wow. So you were groomed.
I was groomed. I was being groomed. And let me set the record straight so that people, I've had really in-depth conversations with other people that run agencies and things, and we have rubbed, there was friction. I was never raped. Rape is usually done by someone you don't know. And it's an attack of quick portion most of the time. Now everything's different, even incest is different.
Right.
But I am an incest survivor, which means someone that I knew. And my perpetrator was my father.
Really?
So there could be
your biological
my
father,
biological
not
father.
a step parent.
Not a step
Because we hear to tell mothers to be careful, single women, of the stepfather or mama's boyfriend. Well, and he's doing various things. And in my social worker life, I know about that, and I've seen it in families.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
But
this
it was your
my father.
biological father.
My biological father, who, with my grandmother, his mother, had custody of me since I was 3. They had, quote unquote, a little money.
Okay.
My father's side my grandmother had a little money, and my mom was from a different side of the track.
Okay.
And she was 15.
So not so well-to-do,
Not
and
so
she was a
well-to-do,
young
and she
mother.
was very young. So, and my grandmother was a weekend alcoholic. I love her. I'm saying grandmother so that you can keep it straight.
I
'cause
got you.
If I say mom,
Right.
I mean
I
my
mean
grandmother,
grandmother,
because
right.
it's the only mother I've
That
actually
raised you.
known.
Exactly.
Right, but she was my grandmother, and people in my town that I grew up in still think I was her. That she had 2 children,
Right.
a daughter and a son. She
Right.
actually only had a son, and
Right.
I'm the granddaughter. But to get back to it,
She was a weekend alcoholic.
a weekend alcoholic. But hey, on Friday night till Saturday, when she stopped working Friday till Saturday around 3 a.m., we were at the club, and I was always there with her. So that's
As a little girl.
As a little girl, I
Okay.
always sat in a corner booth at jukebox. Jukebox
Well,
is
you
lounge.
could play the music, press the numbers.
I had a great college fund because they would pay me to dance while she drank. It was so funny. And fun for me.
Right,
then.
it was different.
Really, really fun.
Not knowing any better.
Not knowing any better. I don't know if I knew better. That it was still fun. All I was
Right.
doing was dancing.
Right, but that really
it
was
just-
illegal for you to be a minor in the bar. Now
I don't
that
know
would-
about then.
No, then it wasn't, but now that
But
would
now
be.
it would be.
Yeah, sure
you'd
it would be.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're supposed to be there, but
Right.
yeah, people would. They're like, here comes.
They'd call defects if it was
Right,
now.
if it
Right,
was
that's what I'm
going on
saying,
now.
right.
No, then I was the only one there, and they say, here come Reen and her child, and you better not mess with her, cause Reen will cut you.
Okay, no, really, those are cultural
You-
differences,
you
we
sca-
have to talk about it,
You
right?
don't have to get up out of 6th grade if
Right.
you mess with that baby.
Right,
So
right.
that is how I came to be with them, because she would drink less when I was with her. So my mom family didn't have no money. So she said, you should let me raise her. So
Right.
that's how I came to be in that area,
home
that
environment.
I wasn't taken from my mom. My mom
Right.
just said, okay.
She was
ju-
young.
you
The
have more
teenage
money.
mother,
Right.
she didn't have resources.
Right.
The other side had
More resources, and she felt like she was saving her.
Right.
She said, she drinks less when Twilla is with her.
I got you. Well, what we're going to do before we go to part 2 of this, we're going to go to our first break to our sponsors. We'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors. Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided. A touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road. Trusted by generations. Charmaine K. Crabb at RE/MAX Champions Realty, 4800 Armour Road. As an associate broker of residential sales and property management, Charmaine takes your business personally. It's not about finding a dream home, but finding a home that is perfect for you. Call Team Crabb today at 706-392-6116. And welcome back to Straightforward. We're continuing this very powerful conversation with the one and only Twilla. Wow, what a story. But God.
But God, that's all I
People
can
say that very loosely, but
They do.
yeah, and everybody has a testimony. Because you have to have a test to have a testimony.
Right.
But God.
But God.
Because we're talking about your biological father
Right.
and your biological grandmother.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so we're in the clubs on the weekend with grandmother, and you were being groomed, as you said. You were not raped.
Nope.
Okay. And so how did the abuse start?
Let me backtrack a little bit, and not groom from the club. The club.
No,
part
that was just
yeah,
social.
that was just social.
Well, I mean, we
nobody
went,
ever,
you know,
yeah, people did
everything,
I was born
right?
in the '60s.
Exactly, right.
Like,
So that wasn't.
I'm
Now
fine
with
with y'all.
defects,
Yeah,
they would say
defects,
abuse,
like,
but that's
oh,
not
no.
abuse back then, right?
Right.
Yeah.
My dad he was in the military,
Mm-hmm.
and so when he first went in, he was a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And he was special ops, blah, 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 all of the things that go along with that. And he would travel to other countries and send me things back, like kimonos, and I had beautiful fans. This is a beautiful fan.
But yeah, those very Oriental
big
looking.
Oriental
Right.
fans. So I was always getting gifts from other countries and taking them. At this time in school, when I was growing up, they had show and tell, and I
Right.
always had the best show
I
and
could
tell.
tell.
So probably around the age of, as early as I can remember, is like maybe 8. I say 6, but maybe it was probably about 8. I was just really young. My dad would send me pictures of fathers and their daughters, and they would be, I guess now I would say semi-compromising, but when I was younger, it just looked like love to me. An embrace, a hold, blah, blah, blah. Lots of different things. But when now looking back on what I saw,
As a
like
mature woman, right.
I was being groomed versus nobody else was getting pictures like that.
From their dad.
From their dad.
Right.
In their care packages and things like that. And so as I got older, the pictures got, they had less clothes. So they although I grew up in a household where 2 women raised me. Now my dad didn't actually raise me. It was my grandmother and
he's military,
and,
so
right,
he's
he
moving
was
around.
out, and my aunt and my mom, and I'm sorry, grandmother,
but
yeah,
mother.
mother. So let's just keep it. She owned her own home, and it was a duplex. So my aunt lived on one side, and we lived on the other side, and so 2 black women raised me, so we didn't have to wear clothes.
Exactly.
So
No,
they
that's-
were like,
that's-
"Why she on this clothes thing?" It's like, because I grew up not caring.
You could walk through the house
I walked
freely
through the house
because you didn't have
freely.
the male
I
presence
had
there.
no male presence
Right.
to say, well, you might better put on a shirt or put on.
Right.
And my grandmother went out to hang up clothes in her slip, and it
Yeah,
just
my
was
aunt
like
did that. On the back porch.
Yeah.
People go around over there in Talbot County, she waved and keep on doing what she
She'd
was
go all the way out. We
Yeah.
had, I still own the house, but you had to walk way
Right,
out to,
right.
and it meant nothing to me.
I got you.
And so when the pictures came, they pretty much meant nothing to me either. And so, but it still was a grooming. And I say this, and I go back and always say, every incestual situation is different.
Right.
There's no 2 the same. It could be happening to 2 children in the same house,
But
and
differently.
still be different. So let's make that perfectly clear, because people sometimes have a tendency to read my book and then go, well,
That didn't happen like that. It was a different
I don't
story.
think that's right. And I'm like, no,
But
that's
this is
my
your story.
story.
Right. They can't
Your
tell
story
your
is
story.
different.
Right.
And so, and we all have a story. You can write a book about it. I tell people I wrote a book about it 1 year ago.
Right.
So the grooming pretty much started then, and as I got older, my dad was hurt in Vietnam and got shrapnel in his eye, and he had to leave the Marines, but the Army took him.
Okay.
So I was like, that's what they say. The Army will take anybody.
Right.
It's like you couldn't even be a Marine, but you
Right,
could be
well,
a
the
Green
Army,
Beret.
right.
So he went in special ops for the Army. So he was still overseas and sending things. And I got this part of the story from my dad as we had went through everything and went through reconciliation. And I asked him why and how, and he was the one that told me he became a part of the Geisha Society.
Okay.
And I was like, "Hi, you're a man. What do you mean?" And so they groom the geishas, and you can look geishas up.
Right.
They are some of the most well-groomed women in Asia at that time. I don't know what they do now. I didn't keep up with it, but in that period of time, the 60s, 70s,
Right.
they had a whole network, and our military servicemen, black, white, whatever, Hispanic,
that went over
they were
like
over,
that.
and they were able to peek into their world. And some of them liked the world and wanted to emulate it with their own children and in their own life. And my dad was one of them. And so he became part of the Geisha Society, and they supplied material to groom your geisha.
Oh, so that's where he was sending you those pictures.
Right, your very own, you can have your very, you know, this is just quote, you know,
Yeah,
for
I
me,
got you.
you can have your very own geisha, whether it's your daughter, your niece, whoever. And we'll send you the things to groom. So every picture that I saw when I was little of a male figure and a little girl, because remember, I'm in the house with two women,
Right.
was always Oriental. They were always Oriental. I never saw an African American. I
right.
never saw white. None. They were always Oriental, and so that's where I got my perception of
What was
how
the
a
father-daughter
father-daughter
relationship,
right,
which was
so,
far from what the traditional U.S. way.
what the U.S. does. So everything to me, see, I was being treated like a princess. My dad would never beat me.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Beat
and you were not neglected on material things.
No, I ate well.
Right. You
I
had a
was
nice,
clothed
clean
well.
place. Right.
I lived fairly well.
Right.
And I did things. I was a ballerina for 12 years of my life, from age 5, 6, something like that, to a ballerina. And my dad always made sure that my grandmother put me in things like
cultural enrichment.
Right. Geisha,
that's a part of the
that
culture. You're polished.
Right.
You're sophisticated.
All
class.
Of that. All of that. Wear the best clothes. Speak correctly. Just you name it. And now about this time he remarried and had a family, and they lived in a totally different house in a different town. Blah 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 blah. I still lived with my mom, but I would go visit this, that, and the other. And then he finally got out of the military and he came home, and we would go to outings where we'd go to the lake and sit, and he would talk.
Just to you?
Just me.
Okay. Well, hold that. Okay. We got to take our final break, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors. Carter Counseling Services in the White House at the Elms, 1846 Buena Vista Road, providing services to enhance the quality of life for clients by promoting healthy, stable interactions within relationships, counseling support to assist individuals in positive personal growth. Call Mr. Carter today at 706-570-8698. The Miley Agency, 4903 Armour Road. Gerald L. Miley and William Ripsinger have been providing comprehensive reviews and insuring families in Georgia and Alabama for more than 50 years. The Miley Agency will work non-stop to find you the best policy at the best price. You can rest assured that your information is secure, confidential, and protected. Call today at 706-996-2045. The Columbus Memory Center, 7196 North Lake Drive, Suite A, Columbus. Dr. Jonathan Liss is a board-certified neurologist and sleep specialist committed to battling Alzheimer's by preserving independence, offering you the opportunity to get your memory number for free, the only vital sign for brain health. Call today at 706-327-4000 or visit columbusmemorycenter.com. Roz Cafe and Catering Services. Choose Roz as your personal chef, knowing every dish is prepared with attention to the finest details and extra care. She will make your next event one to remember, with 2 convenient locations to serve you: 390 Batzel Avenue, Fort Benning, and 3418 Buena Vista Road. Visit rozcafe.com. And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing this very, very earth-moving conversation with the one and only Twilla. Just almost speechless. Having been a social worker, worked in South Florida State Mental Hospital, where it also had a part of the facility for the criminally insane, guards at the gate, just every type of mental illness from children to adults that you could think of early in my career. Let's go back to when your father remarried, had a family, another family, but you remained this princess, geisha girl, and then how it moved over into not just the grooming, into the abuse.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna reiterate,
Go ahead.
princess, because
The
I didn't
princess.
learn about geisha society
Right.
and all that until I
Right.
was
Till
grown,
later.
till
Right.
much later.
Right.
But the actual abuse started when when my menses started. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that's clear, because I've talked to lots of survivors,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems to, for some reason, be a triggering point for the actual intercourse to start. I
Is it
never
the
heard of-
hormones
I-
start? Right.
I have no idea, but for your perpetrator,
Right.
that is the
It's the womanhood.
the woman has
Okay.
appeared.
Okay.
She's no longer a child.
Okay.
And I've heard that from several
I've heard that before,
survivors.
too.
Is after their first period, and
Yeah.
then it starts. And so I got my first period at maybe about 15, and so right after that, my stepmother would take my brother, and they would go, and I don't think she knew. I really don't. But they would go visit her sisters, and it would always leave my dad at the house. Now, I didn't live with them. I lived with my grandmother.
Right.
But I would go over and visit. Right. I'd go.
And
over
you're
and
the
visit.
one he's taking to the lake to have the
Right.
intimate
It was
conversations.
never me and my brother.
Brothers.
It was
It's
always
you and
just
him.
me.
Right.
Me and him. And so at the very first time. Now, all the other times became, after I found out it was wrong, they became muted. Very muted, almost like they were just a mass of colors.
Right.
But the first time stayed very clear in my mind, and I can't tell you, maybe it was to protect my mind. I have no idea.
No, the mind has a way of protecting.
Of shutting it down.
Right.
But the very first time was so clear, and clear and clarion, as they say. We watched a movie from Asia, and it was a father and a daughter, and they were sitting on the bed, and she got unclothed, and then he laid on top of her. And then my dad stopped the movie, and he said, "I want you to go take a shower." And I said, "Okay." And so I went and took a shower. And when I came back, my dad was already in the bed, and the sheets, and it took me a long time to sleep on white sheets, like about 30 years.
Really?
It took me to sleep, but the sheets were,
Because it triggered the trauma.
it triggered the trauma, and so the sheets were pristine white. And my dad patted the bed next to him, and I got in the bed next, but like it was nothing.
Right.
Like it was a Stepford wife or something.
Right.
It's just
Right.
a fluid motion. There was no screaming, there was no scratching, none of that. Because I had been groomed for what, almost 10 years? A long time.
Right.
And so it just moved effortlessly. And then after the act, my dad said, "I don't want you to look back at the bed. I want you to go straight to the shower." And so, I was still a child, so to speak, and I was curious why I wasn't supposed to look back at the bed.
Right.
And so I did, and it was full of blood.
Because you were a virgin.
Right. It was blood, and we know now that not every hymen breaks, or this,
Right,
but mine
right.
did, and the bed was it was a mess. It was horrible, and I screamed because it frightened me.
Exactly.
And my dad said, "I told you not to look back at the bed." Now go take it. And I went and I took a shower, and I was so scared because I thought something was wrong.
Right,
I
right.
said, "Oh, and I kept checking in the shower to see if I was hurt or something." Then my mind went to, "I've hurt my dad." I thought he was hurt.
Wow.
And I said, "My dad must be bleeding or something," because the blood had stopped for me when I got in the shower and
Right,
washed off,
right.
and there was blood in the basin and everything, but it didn't continue.
Right.
To be, so while I was in the shower, I started to cry because I thought, "Oh, my dad is hurt," and so I hurriedly got out of the shower, and my dad was in the bed, and the sheets were changed, and he had on pajamas. When I came out the first time, he didn't have any pajamas in. So he had on pajamas, and he patted the bed again. And I stood there and I didn't move because I said, "Somebody's hurt." And it must be you, because I'm not hurt. And he said, no, everybody's okay. You're good and I'm good. And he said, come lay beside me. And I got in the bed and I slept in my dad's arms all that night. And we got up the next day and I can't even remember. It was just like a normal,
Like regular.
nothing had happened. And for me, yes, that had happened, but it had happened so effortlessly. There was no.
It was like this was normal, so you didn't know it was not normal
and
until later.
it was planned to the T. Precision. If it's nothing else, it was a military precision going on there. It was orchestrated, it was planned, and it was executed perfectly. Except for me looking back at the bed, which I wasn't supposed to do. And so I do remember the next day of just saying, are we gonna do that again?
Really?
And he said, yeah, sometime, not today.
Really? The mind is really something, isn't it?
You can train, what is our words? You can train up a child in which they would go, and they won't stray unless, something comes along and makes them, they'll go that path. It's like any other, and I try to tell people, because they just don't get their minds wrapped around. It's like any other training. Any other training.
It's almost a brainwashing.
It is.
Like people with the cult.
It is.
Oh, wow. Well, we're going to, because this is powerful and we need those that might have had this type of experience so that they can heal and move forward in life.
Yes, definitely.
We're going to end the conversation here, but this will be the continuation. And so we'll have this part one of this interview with you, and then we'll do the part two.
Okay.
And then we'll go more into detail, because then I want you to share with the folks who might have experienced this, how they can get help and how they can move forward.
Right.
Okay? So
Sure.
we're gonna come back to part two of this. This has been part one of Twilla's story, a very powerful story. And what we're gonna do is you'll join us again for part two. This has been straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.
What up, world? What's up, Columbus? Be sure to tune in every Sunday, Straightforward with Gloria Strode, right here on NBC 38.